So before I go into this video, I just wanted to make sure everyone knows Kory's Rides is not sponsored. None of the products on this bike were given to me. I never got a discount on any of them, nothing like that. I have zero sponsorships. This is all just my opinion, stuff I bought with my own money. So anytime I get a new motorcycle and I ride it long enough and get it modified to a point that it does everything I want it to, and I'm comfortable on it, I like to make a video showing you the day-to-day form of this bike as I use it and what all those modifications are for and how they're holding up. So this is that video for my 2022 CB500X Honda. So as you can tell from the dirt and the tires, I use this as an adventure bike, and everybody's going to have a different definition of that. But to me, that means I can go on any public road, paved, unpaved, whatever, and then when I get to places where there might be, an off-road trail or a little bit rougher stuff, I can still do it. I'm not going to be able to blast through it like on my CRF 250L, but I've taken this bike to 2 different off-road parks and, countless, probably half the miles on this bike are on gravel roads. This has been around a motocross track, obviously, slowly, rolling over the jumps, but I still did it. It's been in gravel pits and all kinds of other stuff, so it'll go anywhere I want it to. It's enough of a street bike that I can do hundreds and hundreds of miles a day. I think 718 is my longest day on this bike. But it's enough of an adventure bike. I wouldn't call this a dual sport. It's enough of an adventure bike that I don't have to stop when I get to, places that require more suspension and more aggressive tires. So it's important that you know how I use it in relation to the modifications I've made to it. So, I've done the Trans-Wisconsin Adventure Trail on this bike. I've, just drive across 2 states with it. A couple days ago, I went and rode almost 600 miles through North Dakota on this thing. So, it does a little bit of everything. And it's a compromise in every direction. Obviously, there's better street bikes. Obviously, there's better dual sport bikes. But you don't have to suffer very much in any direction with how I have this bike set up. So let's just go over it front to back, the modifications I've made. The stock tires are terrible. I've had 4 sets of tires on this, I think. This is set number 4. I'll put my little chart up at the end of this, but stock tires are terrible. They suck on the road because they don't last very long. They suck off-road because they have no grip. So if I was to do it again, I would have changed those OEM tires before hitting 200 miles on this bike. I did have a fender extender on here. It just packs up with mud and dirt, and I wore away the plastic by having it hit the tire, and it fell off. I've got an SW Motec light bar with just a couple of Sylvania LED floodlights from the local farm supply store. It just lights up the road in front of me a little better for when I'm riding gravel or off-road. It lights up all the little potholes and stuff in the road. Great for when it's raining too. This is a Madstad windshield. It's the I think that's the 20 for 20 inch version. There's one shorter and one larger than this. It's for sure the medium size. Behind all the bug guts, it has these adjustable brackets. So you just loosen these 2 knobs and you can adjust angle and height. So when it's hot, I can put it all the way down, get some air to my helmet. When it's cold, or if there's a ton of bugs out, I can raise it and keep that wind off of me. And you can tune that just perfect so the wind just catches the top of your helmet to get a little bit of air in there, but it's not buffering you around like crazy. Also up front here, and before you ask, that's a plastic weld repair for this blinker because they're $50 a piece, and a plastic welder was only 20. Montana 700 on a Moto Pumps mount. Got that Moto Pumps mount off of eBay. Garmin Montana 700, a lot of people run those. I don't want to do a review for that because it's actually shutting off on me randomly, and I'm having trouble getting Garmin to, you know, fix it. And this is actually a warranty unit that replaced my original unit. Anyway, Renthal dual compound grips. I've had them on a couple of bikes. I like them. They're soft and malleable, but they don't get sticky. I like them. They're pretty comfortable. I didn't want to put Kuryakin ISO grips on here, which is my other favorite grip, because I wanted to have these bark busters on here. There is a kit to mount them to this bike, but I just kind of cobbled this together out of stuff I had laying around at home. This is a 3D printed housing for the temperature sensor for my Garmin. Factory accessory 12-volt plug here. I use it to power my Insta360 camera. I've got that on the Insta360 mount, and it's just a ram ball here. You know, I just keep it plugged in instead of changing batteries out all the time. This goes into the tank bag. I do have 2 extra batteries for this I keep in there, along with some other supplies, but I also use it to charge my phone. This is a Giant Loop Diablo tank bag. The Fandango is just a little taller, I think, but you know, the bars touch it just barely, and if I open this up, it scratches the hell out of the tank. Just the mounting system does, and you know, dirt gets under here and it wears on it, but I'm probably gonna take that tank off and paint it at some point anyway with something a little tougher than this paint. Before we move to the back half of the bike, down here, this is a T-Rex Racing skid plate. They don't sell this version anymore. Their current versions go all the way up to the bottom of the radiator, and this big notch is something I cut out of here because when you compress a suspension, you know, most of the way, all the way, the tire actually rubs on that just a little bit. So I cut that out. Now it's fine. They're taller versions. I don't know that you could cut this window in there because then you'd have a lip on the top. But this one and the Rally Raid skid plate are the only ones worth having because they use decent structural mounts. All those other flimsy little ones that mount using engine case bolts, all it's going to do is break your engine cases. Those are gravel guards at best. I've had the bike sitting on this more than once, and it looks like my repair weld may have cracked again. I've tipped this bike over probably 10 or 12 times, and I think the only reason this cracked here is because I've got these, you know, cheap Amazon cruise pegs on here, and it levered it over and cracked it there. And like I said, cheap Amazon cruise pegs. They vibrate quite a bit, but it's just somewhere I would put my feet to stretch out for a while. Normally I've got my feet back there on Motion Factory Racing pegs. And these have the bushing in the bottom that allows them to pivot. They've got these bolts in here so that it grips your foot really well. Nice big platform to put yourself on when you're, especially if you're riding any sort of conditions where you want to stand up. The factory pegs weren't even wide enough for me to get my whole foot on, and they were super slippery the instant they got wet, so I put these on. I do feel at 6'3", I feel like these foot pegs, just this location is a little bit too far up and back for me, but it's okay. You know, I deal with it. The shifter I modified because I needed it further this way as well as higher, so I just cut it off and welded that piece back on top. If you don't have large feet, you know, because I'm so tall, large feet, whatever, you could probably just adjust this to fix the height issue when you go to these taller pegs. And that's another thing, like the factory pegs are about 3/8 of an inch or so lower than these are, but the factory pegs still felt high for me. I've still got factory gearing. You know, I'm running Heidenau tires right now. Let's move this real quick. This is a Russell Daylong saddle. They're custom built to your specifications. It's half moon stitching. I got a backrest installed. You don't have to get a backrest. You can also get the passenger seat done to look like this. I didn't want that because I knew I was putting luggage on. It's insanely rare that I ever have a passenger, and when I do, it's just one of my kids for, you know, 10 or 15 miles, so I didn't want to spend the extra money on getting the passenger seat done when it wouldn't be beneficial. The backrest is adjustable for angle. It is removable. It just slides right out. I put this bungee cord on here to hold it back because when I'm standing up and riding off-road and rough stuff, it tips forward, and then when I need to move back or put my butt down, it's sometimes in the way, but this keeps it back. These are Happy Trail products, saddlebags. Now watch my other videos. I'll warn you now also, don't use them. Happy Trail products, they're dishonest, they're slow, and I had a bad experience. You can see my other videos about it if you want to know more, but you know, basically it's a 3 to 4 month wait. They didn't tell me that. They said they were in stock. They finally did get them built. They built them wrong. It's missing a part that was supposed to be welded in before it got powder coated. Overall bad experience. I wouldn't recommend them to anyone. The reviews for them, they're either glowing or they're exactly what I was talking about. Huge weights, dishonest, and yeah, it's a whole big deal. Watch the other videos. So I added this unpainted aluminum plate in here recently because they flex a little bit. When you get them really loaded up, they flex a little bit, and I wanted a bigger surface area holding it onto the mount. I mean, they're decent saddlebags, but I don't like the way the people run the business that make them. So I don't have any actual complaints about the product, just the people that run the company. There is supposed to be a thing in here that you can mount like tool tubes or whatever too that they forgot to weld in. It's not quite as high a quality as like SW Motec stuff, but it's pretty good. The back here, the luggage rack is something I built. I had an Outback Motor Tech rack with the Rotopacks on it, but it broke. I welded a bunch of gussets and stuff into that. You can see my other videos for that. It was a decent rack. It just wasn't up to the severe punishment I put stuff through. So I built this one. Rotopacks, great product. They're tough. I've used them on a bunch of my bikes. This is a 2-gallon. No complaints about Rotopacks other than that, you know, government mandated, stupid spring-loaded spout. And you can't do the trick where you buy the water spout and put it in a gas one anymore because they're different sizes. So that old workaround is gone now. License plate frame that I 3D printed myself. The factory exhaust blows right onto this saddlebag. And they also forgot to send the heat shield that was supposed to be included with these, but I just welded a couple 45-degree angles on the factory exhaust, and I made this extension for this Black Widow exhaust. Now I've removed the sticker and I've painted the whole thing black. That's a stainless mid pipe that it comes with. This is the 200 millimeter, I think, version of the oval canister. And there's a quiet insert in there that I cut the end off of, so it's not as quiet, but it's not as loud as wide open. And then I welded a reducer and a turn down on it to get the exhaust blowing away so it's not cooking this saddlebag. This side, that's all there is on the bike. I think one of my kids, I was gonna say my daughter, but my son is just as likely to do something like that, but that's neat. Anyway, I guess Kuryakin throttle rocker. I think this thing's probably 15 years old by now. I like putting those on so you don't have to have a death grip on all the time. MC Cruise makes a cruise control for this bike, but I think it's over $1,000 by the time you get it shipped to the US. Ram Quick Grip, I've never had it fail. I've had plenty of these arms fail because I'm hitting them on stuff, but Does a great job holding my phone, and they have a version if you've got wireless charging. The last thing on the bottom is the Honda OEM accessory center stand. You can't use that center stand with a Rally Raid skid plate. You can use it with this T-Rex skid plate. And again, they don't make this version anymore, but T-Rex has an extended skid plate that I think doesn't allow use of a center stand, but their shorter one does. So that is everything I have modified on, almost everything. Under the seat right here, I have a Speedo DRD. It helps correct for things like running a 150/70/17 instead of a 160/60/17 tire, or if you change gearing, you can fix your odometer or your speedometer odometer so it reads correctly. So that's hidden, but I've got that done too. But yeah, otherwise that's everything I've done to the bike. The long version of the video. Okay, a couple things I forgot. Puig kickstand pad. I cut the levers down myself, and I think that's it. Yeah, okay, now that's everything I've done to it. Except for one other thing I forgot. That's an ABS disable switch. I made the 3D print mount for that, and I've got a video on how to install it into your bike. And then seriously, this is the absolute last final thing, because I know people will ask. The reason I put a Rotopax on this bike is because when I'm riding this bike slowly, nice and easy, 40 to 50 miles an hour like I am today, I can get over 70 miles to the gallon. So that's 74.5 miles per gallon right now. And it's usually within half a mile per gallon of what I calculate when I get gas. So the highest I've had previously was 73.7, and the lowest I've gotten is 40.7. Blasting down the interstate 75 miles an hour full of luggage when it's windy, it gets crap gas mileage. So the main tank could be anywhere from 347 miles of range to 191. With the Rotopax, nearly 500 or as low as 273. So when I'm traveling, I plan on 200-mile gas stops just to be safe, in case, the gas station's closed because it's Sunday in North Dakota and I got to go a little farther. But because that range varies so much, I bring the extra gas. Also, I don't like stopping in cities. Sometimes I'll just go out for an entire day's ride and start with a full tank and just use that, and then I don't have to go into any towns. So yeah, you use some real basic hypermiling techniques, you can get over 70 miles to the gallon on this thing. Okay, for real this time, the actual last item. I've got these Hippo Hands. They're not the biggest size, they're one down. Like I think Alcan is the biggest. This is one size down from that. They just Velcro on, they keep all the wind and cold off your hands. They're pretty nice in rain too, but as soon as the weather's warm enough that I can stand riding in gloves without them, I take them off because they kind of get in the way of the switches and getting your hands on and off the bars easily. But when it's cold, they're indispensable.